An image made this pale man pale. He was equal to his deed when he did it, but he could not bear its image after it was done. Now he always saw himself as the doer of one deed. I call this madness. The exception reversed itself to become the essence in his own eyes. Those are my words. From Thus Spoke Zarathustra, from a chapter that few people discuss because it cuts too close to the bone. Today, we must speak of the pale criminal, the one who acts and then cannot forgive himself for acting, the one who does a deed and then spends the rest of his life punishing himself for being the kind of person who could do such a thing. I am Friedrich Nietzsche. This is day 5, and today we descend into the dungeon you have built inside your own mind, the place where you keep yourself chained, the courtroom where you serve as both prosecutor and condemned. Today we speak of guilt. Let me tell you the story of the pale criminal as I wrote it. There was a man who committed a crime. Perhaps he killed. Perhaps he stole. The specific crime does not matter for our purposes. What matters is what happened afterward. The judges looked at him and said, "This man is a criminal. He is guilty. He must be punished." But I, Zarathustra, looked deeper, and I saw something the judges could not see. I saw that the man did not commit the crime he thought he committed, or rather, he committed a crime. But it was not the crime for which he now condemned himself. Let me explain. Before the deed, there was something else, a desire, a hunger, a need that society had taught him was shameful. Perhaps it was a desire for power, perhaps a desire for freedom, perhaps a desire for pleasure or recognition, or simply to break free from the unbearable constraints of his small life. This desire was not evil. It was life itself, pressing against the walls of convention. But the man could not acknowledge this desire honestly. He could not say, "I want this. I need this. I will pursue this openly and take responsibility for my pursuit." So the desire went underground. It festered, it twisted, and eventually it erupted in a distorted form, as violence, as theft, as destruction. The crime was not the expression of his true nature. The crime was the distorted expression of a denied nature. And here is the tragedy. After the deed, the man did not examine what had truly driven him. He did not trace the crime back to its source, the denied desire, the unlived life, the self that had been suppressed until it exploded. No. He simply accepted society's judgment. He said, "I am a criminal. I am evil. I am guilty." And he became pale. Do you understand what I am saying? The paleness is not merely shame. The paleness is the draining of life that happens when a person turns against himself completely, when he takes the gaze of his judges and installs it permanently inside his own skull, when he becomes his own jailer, his own torturer, his own executioner. The pale criminal does not simply feel bad about what he did. He concludes that he is bad. Essentially, fundamentally, irredeemably. The deed becomes his identity. The exception becomes the essence. One act, born of denied desire, distorted by repression, erupting in a moment of madness, becomes the total definition of who he is. This is what I called madness, and it is everywhere. Now, you are listening to this and perhaps thinking, "But Nietzsche, I have never killed anyone. I have never committed a crime. What does this have to do with me?" Everything. Because the pale criminal is not only the man in the courtroom. The pale criminal is a psychological structure that operates in every human soul that has been shaped by guilt-based morality. You have done things you regret. We all have. Perhaps you hurt someone you loved. Perhaps you failed at something important. Perhaps you acted from fear or greed or lust or anger. Perhaps you simply made a choice that did not turn out well. And afterward, what did you do? Did you examine the deed clearly? Did you trace it back to its sources, the needs, the fears, the circumstances that produced it? Did you take responsibility without collapsing into self-destruction? Did you learn, adjust, make amends where possible, and then move forward? Or did you become pale? Did you install the judge inside your own head? Did you replay the deed endlessly, not to understand it, but to punish yourself for it? Did you conclude that this one act, or these several acts, reveal who you truly are? Did you sentence yourself to a lifetime of quiet self-contempt? This is what guilt does when it is not processed consciously. It does not make you better. It makes you pale. It drains your vitality. It keeps you chained to the past, not as a student learning from experience, but as a prisoner serving an endless sentence. And here is the cruelest irony. The guilt rarely addresses the actual source of the problem. Remember, the pale criminal's deed was not his true crime. His true crime, if we can call it that, was the denial of his own nature that eventually exploded into distorted action. But the guilt does not touch that denial. The guilt focuses on the symptom, not the cause. And so the underlying pattern remains untouched, ready to erupt again in some new distorted form. This is why people repeat the same mistakes over and over, punishing themselves each time, never actually changing. The punishment is a substitute for understanding. The suffering is a substitute for transformation. I wrote in Zarathustra, the thought of suicide is a great consolation. By means of it, one gets through many a bad night. This is not an endorsement. This is a diagnosis. The pale criminal often fantasizes about the ultimate self-punishment, the destruction of the self that committed the crime, as if killing the criminal would solve the problem, as if the deed could be undone by eliminating the doer. But of course it cannot. The deed is done, the past is fixed, and the self that committed the deed is also the self that contains everything else, every possibility of redemption, every capacity for creation, every potential for becoming something greater. To destroy the self because of one deed, or even many deeds, is to burn down a library because it contains one book you regret. So what is the alternative? The alternative is what I spent my entire philosophy trying to articulate. It is what we have been building toward in these sessions. The alternative is not the absence of conscience. I never preached moral chaos. I never said that anything goes. The alternative is a conscience that is yours. Not the internalized voice of priests and judges and parents and society. Not the automatic guilt response programmed into you before you could think for yourself, but a conscience that you have forged in the fire of your own reflection. A conscience that asks, what did I actually do? Why did I do it? What need was I trying to meet? Was there a better way to meet that need? What can I learn? What amends, if any, are appropriate? And then, how do I move forward as someone who has integrated this experience rather than someone who is crushed by it? This is not easy. This is not a permission slip for bad behavior. This is actually far more demanding than simple guilt, because guilt is passive. Guilt says, I am bad. I deserve to suffer. I will sit here in my punishment. Guilt requires nothing of you except endless self-flagellation. But genuine responsibility is active. Genuine responsibility says, I did this. I will understand why. I will make what repair is possible. I will change what needs to change. And I will live forward, not as an innocent. I am not innocent, but as someone who carries his past honestly without being destroyed by it. I once wrote, he who despises himself still esteems himself as one who despises. Even self-hatred is a form of pride. The pale criminal, in his endless self-punishment, is still making himself the center of the universe. His crime becomes cosmic. His guilt becomes infinite. He is the worst, the most fallen, the most irredeemable. This is grandiosity in reverse, and it is just as much an obstacle to genuine growth as ordinary arrogance. The antidote is not self-love, as your modern teachers suggest. The antidote is accuracy, to see yourself as you actually are, neither monster nor saint, a human being who has done good things and bad things, who has succeeded and failed, who is capable of destruction and creation, who is, in short, like every other human being who has ever lived. This is humility, not the false humility that crawls and apologizes for existing, but the true humility that places yourself accurately in the human story. One actor among billions, flawed and powerful, broken and capable of repair. Now, we will descend into the place where your pale criminal lives. This will require courage, but you have been building courage for 4 days now. You are ready. Find your position. Let your body settle, spine aligned, breath natural. Close your eyes. Take one breath, deep and slow. Feel your body expand. Feel that you are alive, not as a punishment, but as a fact. You exist. You breathe. You are here. And release. Again. Breathe in. With each breath, you are choosing life, not because you have earned it, not because you deserve it, simply because it is yours and you are willing to live it. And release. Let your breathing become natural. Now, I want you to imagine that you are descending a staircase, a stone staircase spiraling downward into darkness. With each step, you go deeper into yourself, deeper than your daily thoughts, deeper than your social face, down into the place where you keep the things you are ashamed of. Step by step, breath by breath, descending. At the bottom of the staircase there is a door, heavy, old. You have kept it locked for a long time. Behind this door is the cell where your pale criminal lives, the part of you that carries the guilt, the part that has turned its face away from the light, the part that believes it deserves to be punished forever. You have the key. You have always had the key. When you are ready, open the door. Step inside. It is dark here, cold. Let your eyes adjust. And there, in the corner, you see him or her, the pale one, the part of you that has been imprisoned by shame. Look at this figure. Do not turn away. What does this part of you look like? Perhaps tired, perhaps hunched, perhaps with eyes that do not meet yours, perhaps with marks of self-inflicted wounds, not on the skin, but on the soul. This is you, a part of you, the part that carries the weight of everything you regret. Now, I want you to ask this pale figure a question. Ask it silently. What deed do you carry? What have you never forgiven yourself for? Let the answer come. It may be something large. It may be something that seems small but has haunted you nonetheless. It may be something you did. It may be something you failed to do. It may be something you desired and acted on. It may be something you desired and are ashamed of desiring, even if you never acted. Do not judge what arises, simply witness. Now, here is the crucial question, the question that the pale criminal could never ask himself. What need was underneath this deed? What part of you was trying to live, trying to express itself, trying to meet a legitimate hunger, even if the method was flawed? Stay with this. Beneath every destructive act is a creative impulse that was denied or distorted. Beneath every failure is an attempt. Beneath every shameful desire is a life force that was not given a healthy channel. What was trying to live through you? Can you feel it? Beneath the guilt, beneath the shame, there's something that is not evil, something that was simply struggling to exist, something that deserved expression, even if the expression went wrong. Now, I want you to do something that may seem impossible. I want you to approach the pale criminal, this hunched, shamed part of yourself, and I want you to sit down beside him or her, not as a judge, not as a rescuer, simply as a presence, someone who is willing to be in this dark cell without demanding that anything change immediately. And say these words silently. I see what you did. I see why you did it, and I am not leaving. Again, I see what you did. I see why you did it, and I am not leaving. One more time, let the words penetrate the stone walls of this inner prison. I see what you did. I see why you did it, and I am not leaving. Good. You do not have to resolve everything today. You do not have to forgive instantly. Instant forgiveness is often just another form of avoidance. What you are doing is something more fundamental. You are breaking the isolation. You are ending the exile. You are demonstrating that this part of you can be witnessed without total rejection. This is the beginning of integration. Now, slowly, begin to rise. You can leave the door open behind you. The pale criminal does not need to remain locked away. He needs to be visited, to be understood, eventually to be reclaimed as part of you, not celebrated, but integrated. Begin to climb the spiral staircase. With each step, return toward the surface, toward the light, toward the breathing, living present. Feel your body again, your hands, your feet, the surface beneath you. Feel your breath. the simple animal rhythm that continues regardless of what you have done or failed to do. And when you are ready, let your eyes open. Welcome to the 5th day. Today, you have visited a part of yourself that most people spend their entire lives avoiding: the inner prisoner, the carrier of shame, the one who believes he is unredeemable. And you have done something radical. You have refused to abandon him. This is not the end of the work. Guilt that has accumulated over years does not dissolve in one session, but you have opened the door. You have broken the pattern of total exile. You have begun the slow, sacred work of bringing your pale criminal back into the circle of your own life. I once wrote, "One must pay dearly for immortality. One has to die several times while still alive." This is one of those deaths, the death of the fantasy that you can escape your past by punishing yourself forever, the death of the belief that shame will somehow purify you, the death of the pale criminal as a separate, exiled identity. In his place, something else can be born, not innocence. You are not innocent, and that is good, because innocence is just ignorance that has not yet been tested. What can be born is wisdom, integration, a self that carries its full history without being crushed by it. Tomorrow, we continue the descent. We will meet the shadow, everything you have refused to see about yourself, everything you have projected onto others, everything that waits in the darkness for recognition. But today, you have done enough. You have visited the dungeon, and you have not run away. Until tomorrow, I am Friedrich Nietzsche, and this is Day 5.